video, how an end-stage CKD patient avoided dialysis for 8 years and tripled her GFR just by taking a targeted detoxifier. Yes, a supplement so powerful that can help stop CKD in all the stages, but one that very few doctors actually bother prescribing. Because I mean, who needs working kidneys anyway, right? Catherine here, I'm a doctor of natural medicine, and today I want to share with you a mind-blowing case report that was published recently. And this case is not just mind-blowing because this 52-year-old woman avoided dialysis for 8 whole years despite end-stage renal failure. No, there is more. What makes this case absolutely incredible is the fact that this end-stage patient only received standard treatment. Yeah, you heard that right. No fancy fiber supplements here, no secret sauna protocol here, no patent-pending antioxidant therapy either. Just good old-fashioned standard treatment, including a powerful detoxifier so many patients desperately need, even those in stage 3 and 4. Yet almost no doctor prescribes. Yeah, I'm talking about standard CKD treatment, the kind every patient should get but often doesn't. Because lately, all I'm seeing are patients getting partial lab tests, wrong medications, zero diet counseling, and absolutely no mention of this kidney-saving detoxifier. But here's the kicker. This powerful detoxifier isn't even hidden in some obscure locked pharmacy vault. It's something you can literally pick up at your supermarket. And I will tell you all about the detoxifier that saved this woman from dialysis for 8 years in a moment. Just don't forget to like and subscribe before that, because unlike your creatinine levels, my subscriber count actually needs to go up. So let's talk about a powerful detoxifier every single CKD patient should be aware of. A detoxifier so essential, it literally saves kidneys from self-destructing every day, because it can be used to stop one of the most dangerous kidney toxins, a toxin we all come in contact with anytime we eat foods rich in protein. Studies show that up to 74% of CKD patients have too high levels of this toxin in their blood, and the result, they end up in dialysis. But this can be avoided. So question, do you know what toxin can send you in dialysis and is present in foods that also contain protein? Yeah, I'm talking about phosphorus. And the way this 52-year-old patient was able to stop it is with a simple prescription for calcium carbonate. This is just a simple phosphate binder she is taking 3 times a day. And here's the jaw-dropping, mind-blowing, stand-up and applaud-worthy part. Calcium carbonate doesn't even require a prescription. It's literally as cheap as dirt. I mean, probably cheaper if your dirt happens to be raw and organic. And is sold OTC as an antacid. Yep, Tums! These calcium carbonated base antacids are basically sugar-coated little kidney lifesavers. Seriously, a pharmaceutical-grade equivalent of Tums kept this woman away from dialysis for 8 years. Now guys, wait a minute before running to your nearest Costco to stockpile antacids like you're prepping for another pandemic toilet paper shortage. Because here's the thing, while most CKD patients need a phosphate binder, as we have seen, not everyone will benefit from calcium carbonate. Some people might need a different form of calcium. Some will require a phosphate binder that doesn't contain calcium at all. And some lucky folks don't need a phosphate binder at all, although they probably stopped watching this video 5 minutes ago. So in short, if you have CKD, you must keep an eye on your phosphorus levels and take action to make sure they are always under control. Phosphate binders can help, and they come in different forms to accommodate and needs for every single patient. And I know this may sound a bit confusing, but don't worry. By the end of this video, you will be able to find out which phosphate binder you should take so easily that even your nephrologist might ask you for advice, but they'll still bill you for it. Now, before you head to the pharmacy or start guessing at phosphate binders, remember, you don't need to figure this out alone. If you want to know exactly which binder is right for you and get a real plan for keeping phosphorus and all your kidney numbers under control, that's where I come in. I offer one-on-one consultations, fully personalized and created to help you get the results you want quick. My one-on-one consultations are tailored to your labs, your stage, and your symptoms. No guesswork, no generic advice. This is a science-backed approach that's actually proved to be working with real patients. Let's make sure you're getting the right treatment, not missing critical steps, and doing everything possible to protect your kidneys. Email me at Catherine@newhopeforkidneypatients.com or click the link below to get started. So now the big question is, how do you know if you actually need a phosphate binder? Because as I've said before, I'm genuinely concerned that so many patients are not even getting their serum phosphorus levels tested. But how can you tell if you're among the lucky 74% of CKD patients whose phosphorus levels are higher than an insurance executive paycheck? Yeah, almost 3 out of 4 CKD patients have too high phosphorus levels. But what are the symptoms of having hyperphosphatemia? Glad you asked, because you see, even if this toxin mostly damages your heart, bones, joints, and kidneys, the very first thing you should be on the lookout for is skin dryness or itching. This is a very common symptom, and it actually gets worse with the progression of kidney disease. So don't wait for it to get so bad you hurt yourself by scratching your skin. Get a test for phosphorus levels done at the first sign of any skin-related issue, alright? Something else you should be aware of are muscle cramps. These can happen because phosphorus is an electrolyte used by the body as a signaling molecule, among other things. And while there are other electrolytes that can be too high or too low, such as magnesium and potassium, I would still recommend testing for phosphorus levels if you have frequent cramps. Now, there are a few other symptoms too, but full disclosure, they get increasingly more vague and unhelpful as you move down my chart. High phosphorus can cause fatigue, for instance, but let's face it, so can 5 minutes of listening to your insurance company's automated menu. And sure, you might also notice poor appetite or even a weird taste in your mouth, but those are symptoms of advanced CKD. And if you're waiting until your mouth tastes like you licked the battery before taking action, you've probably waited a bit too long. Now, bone problems are very often associated with too high phosphorus levels as well. And that happens because the body uses calcium in order to control phosphorus, alright? And where does it get that extra calcium? Well, from your bones. And ideally, we shouldn't get to a point where breaking a bone is to be expected, okay? And yet, here we are looking for a miracle cure for a problem your doctor should have addressed years ago. Because you know what I tell my patients when they ask for a miracle cure? I tell them the only miracle is that they found a doctor who actually reads their lab results instead of just nodding and prescribing more pills. Which is particularly ironic considering we're getting to the part in which I tell you how to get the pills. Yep. Anyway guys, the bottom line here is that you should get checked for phosphorus levels regularly, even in stage 3. Don't wait until you are on dialysis before taking care of this issue, okay? Remember, prevention is always easier than the cure, and it always starts with making sure your doctor is not forgetting about any life-saving tests. So in short, if you have any of the symptoms we just discussed, make sure you are being tested for phosphorus levels. Tests should be more frequent the more advanced kidney disease is. So let's say your phosphorus level is actually too high, alright? Now the question is, what phosphate binder is best for you? Well, it's probably one of these. And there are actually 2 kinds of phosphate binders in this table. Over-the-counter and prescription binders. Now guys, before taking any supplement, please remember that I don't recommend taking phosphate binders without a doctor's prescription, alright? This is for educational purpose only, because even if patients in the early stages of CKD can usually get away with the super cheap OTC stuff, having a doctor monitoring your levels is very important. Let's see why. Now, this you see here is not a table I made for this video. This is a table two researchers made in order to publish a study titled Hyperphosphatemia. We should totally do something about it. Yeah, sound more like a cry for help than a study. Anyway, let's focus on OTC options first here. Stuff anyone can buy, even those patients whose doctor is busier than a toupee in a hurricane. The first line against hyperphosphatemia is calcium carbonate, which is also what was prescribed to the 52-year-old that avoided dialysis for 8 years. Now, when starting a phosphate binder, it's important to understand that these work by actually binding to phosphorus in your foods. What this means is that you absolutely need to take them with meals, alright? This is why most binders are taken 3 times a day with the main meals. Now, for some patients, taking 600 milligrams of calcium carbonate 3 times a day, which is equivalent to the Tums tablet at each meal, is all that it takes to control phosphorus levels. But of course, some patients might need more depending on lab reports. And I don't really recommend Tums. They contain sugar and other additives, and there are calcium carbonate supplements you could use instead. And now you may ask, if calcium carbonate is so powerful, why are there so many other phosphate binders? Well, because calcium carbonate has one issue. It is literally a calcium supplement, which is great if your calcium levels are too low to begin with, a common issue in CKD patients, but it can be bad if your calcium levels are too high. Now, another binder you could consider here is calcium citrate, which is a type of calcium the body absorbs even better than carbonate. I usually recommend these to patients that are at risk for kidney stones and that have low serum calcium levels. Let's talk about another OTC option that anyone can buy and that's cheap as dirt and that doesn't raise your calcium levels: magnesium carbonate. This is usually sold as a laxative, but it will also bind to phosphorus. So yeah, for some patients, it may be a way to get 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Something else you can use to get 2 birds with 1 stone is taking a probiotic supplement. This is a very recent study we are looking at, and they just found out that there are probiotic strains that can indeed decrease your phosphorus levels, which is great because you see, people with CKD have a million reasons to be taking a probiotic anyway, and knowing that these supplements can also help with phosphorus is great. Now, probiotics are not nearly as effective as the other options in this table, but they may help, and they won't raise your calcium or magnesium to dangerous levels. Something else that could potentially be used OTC in patients with too high calcium or magnesium levels is nicotinamide or vitamin B3. Some naturopaths recommend this vitamin in high doses to treat high phosphorus levels, and well, it works. But it has some significant drawbacks, as it can worsen gout symptoms and blood sugar levels. And frankly, I don't think that you should be taking vitamin B3 in high doses to control phosphorus, because as you can see, if OTC options are not suitable for you, there are many prescription-only options your doctor can choose from, again, depending on your lab results. Most common prescription option is sevelamer or Renvela. This is very useful in stage 5 because it doesn't raise calcium. And there are other prescription options that are even more specialized, such as iron-based binders, for example, that would help with anemia as well. Now, I understand that things are getting a little bit too complicated here, but I mean, that's exactly what nephrologists are for, alright? Yeah, your doctor should choose the right binder for you even before you know you have a problem, but unfortunately, many patients are prescribed Nothing. All they got is me telling them to get tested and to get informed before it's too late. So now the question is, are CKD stage 5 patients ending up in dialysis because their kidneys are failing or because the healthcare system is failing them? Okay, let's move on with a very important question. Now guys, when I talk about phosphate binders, I often get people in the comments saying stuff like, this means I can take Tums and just eat red meat whenever I want. So can you eat meat if you take Tums or another better detoxifier? Well, on paper, that may sound fine, right? The detoxifier binds to phosphorus and you're protected. But unfortunately, it's not how this works. Let me explain. First of all, phosphorus is only one of the many toxins the metabolism of high-protein animal-based food creates. Animal-based foods also create nitrogenous waste such as ammonia and urea. Then there is TMAO, of course, p-cresyl sulfate, which promotes oxidative stress. And the worst of them all, indoxyl sulfate. All these toxins can do a huge amount of damage to your heart vessels, bones, and kidneys, and there is no detoxifying them. Yes, phosphate binders may help take care of one of the worst toxins, phosphorus, but they won't do anything for all these other nasty toxins we get from protein. Actually, even if you are taking a phosphate binder, I still strongly recommend you check food labels carefully for added phosphorus. Even some plant-based foods have added phosphorus if you bind them packaged. There is a list on screen right now, but frankly, I recommend you check the food labels of anything you buy packaged and be especially careful with milk alternatives and also bread. Those are some of the worst offender. If you see any ingredient in them that has the word phos in it, throw that stuff in the trash. I'm serious. And yes, this also applies to people that are taking a binder. Because remember, phosphate binders do not give you a free pass to eat foods with phosphorus, meat, and other junk foods. Limiting phosphorus intake is one of the most important parts of the renal diet, and any CKD patient in any stage should be doing this. If you want to learn more about the renal diet, my video appears for you, and this is all for today. Thank you for watching. God bless you all. Bye-bye.